When a narcissist leaves you for someone else, it feels like betrayal carved into your soul. You question everything: your worth, your love, your reality. You think they found something better. But what if I told you the new person was never the prize? What if the truth is darker? The narcissist didn't want the new supply. They needed it. Not for love, not for happiness, but for survival. Because without attention, they cease to exist. To understand this, you have to see the narcissist's world. It's not built on emotion, it's built on validation. They feed on admiration the way lungs crave air. When you stop giving that energy, they panic. They don't leave because they've found something better. They leave because they've drained you dry. They need a new host, a new stage, a new reflection that still believes their performance. When you loved them, you became their mirror. You reflected their greatness back to them, made them feel powerful and adored. But mirrors crack under pressure, and yours began to show the truth. Their flaws, their cruelty, their emptiness. That's when they began searching, not for a better person, but for a clearer mirror. Someone new who didn't yet see the cracks in their mask. The new supply represents escape, not affection. It's their reset button, a way to rewrite the story. They tell themselves, this one will be different, even though they know deep down it won't. They're not capable of love. They're chasing the high of control. You were once their stage, their audience, their validation. The new person is just Act 2 in a play that never changes its ending. They didn't leave because you lacked anything. They left because you knew too much. You saw behind the mask, and narcissists can't stand exposure. Your awareness became a threat to their illusion, so they ran, not toward love, but away from truth. The new supply doesn't know the story yet, so the narcissists can play hero again, for now. But here's the irony. The new supply isn't loved, they're studied. Every move, every word, every weakness is quietly catalogued. The narcissist molds themselves into whatever image will win them over. Kind, spiritual, funny, devoted. It's not connection, it's strategy. They're not building a relationship, they're building control. And like every illusion, it fades the moment reality sets in. You might have noticed how fast they seem to move on. The photos, the declarations of happiness, the showy displays. That's not joy, that's performance. Narcissists use visibility as proof of superiority. See, they say without words, I'm fine, I'm loved. But those smiles are hollow. The louder they flaunt the new relationship, the more broken they actually are behind the screen. In truth, the narcissist's heart is a revolving door. They never truly bond with anyone, because bonding requires vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like death to them. They replace rather than repair, restart rather than reflect. To them, people are mirrors, not souls. Objects that serve a purpose until they stop shining back adoration. The new supply isn't special. They're simply next. When the narcissist left you, it wasn't closure, it was cowardice. Facing you meant facing accountability. They couldn't bear the mirror of your disappointment or the evidence of their failure, so they escaped into illusion again, telling themselves that the new person will erase their shame. But no new body can heal a corrupted spirit. They carry their emptiness everywhere they go. And here's the secret they'll never admit. They still think about you. Not out of love, but out of ego. You were the one who truly saw them. You reached into their darkness and tried to love them anyway. That kind of devotion doesn't fade easily, even in their twisted logic. But because they can't process love as vulnerability, they rewrite history, pretending you were the problem so they can keep feeling like the victim. The new supply is their proof of escape. See, I'm fine without you. But deep down, the narcissist knows the truth. They're not fine at all. Every new person is a failed attempt to replace something they destroyed. They crave your energy, your warmth, your forgiveness. But they can't face what they did to lose it. So they hide behind the illusion of moving on, even as their soul grows emptier by the day. At first, they treat the new supply like royalty. They flood them with attention, compliments, and affection. It's not love, it's theater. They're auditioning for a role. The perfect partner, the reformed soul, the misunderstood hero. But once the applause fades, once the new supply begins to see the cracks, the narcissist grows cold again. The performance ends, and the abuse begins. Just like before. The cycle always repeats. Idealize, devalue, discard. It's a script written long before you or anyone else entered their life. The only difference is the cast. Each new person becomes a new chance to run from the truth. But truth always catches up. Eventually, the same fights, the same manipulations, the same emptiness return. Because the problem was never the partner. It was the performer. You might wonder, if they didn't want the new supply, why do they look happy now? Remember this, narcissists are actors. Their happiness is a scene designed for an audience. Often you. They want you to see them winning, because it makes them feel in control again. But behind closed doors, the applause fades and the silence grows unbearable. Every performance ends with emptiness. The narcissist's relationship timeline is predictable. The higher they fly in the beginning, the harder they crash in the end. What begins as obsession turns to boredom, then resentment, then chaos. They crave admiration, not intimacy, and admiration fades the moment reality enters the room. When that happens, they start looking for another supply, repeating the same tragedy again and again. You were never replaced. You were recycled. They reused the same tricks, the same lies, the same charm, only with a new face. The narcissist doesn't build new stories. They replay the old one. The only difference is that you've stopped playing your role. That's what really hurts them. You broke the script. You refuse to be their mirror anymore. And that to them feels like betrayal. What they don't understand is that love doesn't die just because control does. You walked away to protect your peace, and that peace is what haunts them. The new supply may adore them now, but soon they'll see what you saw. The charm fades. The lies unravel. The tenderness turns to cruelty. You once stood in that same glow. Now you stand in freedom. They're still trapped in the play. The narcissist's new supply isn't competition. They're the next victim in line. It may look like they've won, but they've inherited a storm. The narcissist's need for validation will soon consume them too. What starts as passion becomes punishment. What feels like love becomes control. It's not a relationship. It's recruitment into emotional warfare. Eventually, the new supply begins to change. Tired, anxious, confused, questioning themselves just like you once did. That's when the narcissist knows the illusion is ending. So they start rewriting the story again, painting the new person as unstable, ungrateful, or crazy. It's never their fault. It never will be. Because accountability is the one truth they fear more than loneliness. The truth is, the narcissists never truly left you emotionally. They carry pieces of every person they've ever used, not out of sentiment, but possession. They believe they still own you. That's why they spy, stalk, and watch from the shadows. It's not love, it's control. They can't stand knowing you exist outside their influence. Your peace is their punishment. While they pretend to move on, their life becomes a cycle of diminishing returns. Each new supply fills the void for shorter and shorter periods. The thrill fades faster every time. The narcissist becomes addicted to chasing what they can't sustain. They call it new love, but it's really withdrawal, a desperate attempt to feel alive through someone else's admiration. They left you because you were no longer controllable. You grew wise, strong, grounded. Your strength exposed their weakness. To a narcissist, that's unbearable. They crave power, not partnership. So rather than grow with you, they found someone easier to manipulate. But while they sought obedience, they lost authenticity. Their victory was just another act of self-sabotage. Deep down, they know the new supply will never replace what you gave them, because what you gave wasn't just attention, it was empathy. Real empathy heals, but to them it's foreign. They mistake compassion for control, love for leverage. When you left, you took their reflection of humanity with you. Now, no matter how many faces they collect, they can't find themselves again. The narcissist didn't actually want the new supply. They wanted distraction. They needed noise to drown out the silence of their guilt. They chase affection, not for connection, but anesthesia. Because when the world goes quiet, the truth screams. They ruined something real. That awareness is their true punishment. Every fake smile hides a hollow echo of what they lost with you. The new supply often feels like salvation to them. Someone pure, naive, willing to believe the lies. But over time, even that illusion burns out. The narcissist starts seeing flaws, real or imagined, and the cycle restarts. They turn cold, distant, irritable. Then they begin idealizing someone else, another escape. They're not building love stories, they're building exits. Their new relationship becomes a stage for projection. Everything they hated about themselves is blamed on their partner. Every flaw becomes someone else's fault. They turn each argument into evidence that they're the victim. The same script, new actors, and when the drama gets too loud, they start looking back at you, rewriting the past, pretending you were the one who failed. They might even reach out again, just to test if you're still under their spell. "How have you been?" sounds harmless, but it's bait. They're not asking out of care, they're checking if their control still works. If you respond emotionally, they feel powerful again. If you stay calm, they crumble inside, because indifference is the one emotion they can't manipulate. The narcissist's downfall begins when they realize their power no longer works on you. You've learned the game, and that scares them more than hatred. They'd rather be feared than forgotten. Your silence doesn't just confuse them, it unravels them, because silence means you've seen through everything. And once you see the truth, their illusion has nowhere left to hide. Every new supply represents a failed attempt to escape self-awareness. They think a new lover will erase their shame, but shame travels light. It follows wherever they go. The narcissist's punishment isn't loneliness, it's repetition. They're stuck in a loop, where every relationship is a rerun. Every ending the same. Meanwhile, you've grown. They've stayed in emotional purgatory. If you ever wonder whether the narcissist regrets losing you, the answer is complicated. They regret losing control, not love. They miss the way you made them feel powerful, not peaceful. But they can't admit that because it would mean accepting guilt, and guilt requires a conscience. They buried long ago, so instead, they rewrite the story, casting you as the villain in their tragedy. The narcissist didn't choose the new supply because of love. They chose them because of ignorance. The new person doesn't yet know who they truly are. That ignorance is the oxygen their ego breathes. Once that fades, so does their interest. They don't fall in love, they fall in admiration. And when admiration turns into awareness, they disappear like smoke. They may act as if they're thriving, but every success feels empty. Without your emotional depth, their victories ring hollow. They might get attention, even affection, but it doesn't satisfy. They crave intensity, not intimacy. And when that intensity dies, boredom devours them from the inside. What they mistake for happiness is just distraction, wearing perfume. One of the cruelest truths is that the narcissist secretly envies your peace. You survived them, you healed. And that healing is proof that they never broke you completely. That realization terrifies them, because if you can recover, It means their control was never as strong as they believed. You represent the one thing they'll never have: freedom. Even the new supply will eventually sense something's off. They'll feel drained, confused, and emotionally dizzy. The narcissist will twist it as their fault. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. It's the same script you once heard, and just like you, they'll start questioning reality. The narcissist doesn't love people. They convert them into confusion. When you see them pretending to be happy online, remember, the louder the display, the emptier the truth. Those pictures aren't love. They're survival. They're performing stability, while crumbling inside. The narcissist needs witnesses to believe their fantasy. But God doesn't bless lies with peace. No matter how curated the post, the truth always bleeds through the cracks. The reason they didn't want the new supply is simple. They don't want anyone. They want worship. They want reflection. They want control. But control isn't connection. It's loneliness disguised as dominance. Every time they win, they lose more of their humanity. The throne they built from broken hearts is starting to collapse beneath their own weight. Your absence forces them to face what they truly are. They see the pattern now: the failed relationships, the repeated chaos, the fading charm. But rather than change, they double down. They tell themselves they're just unlucky in love, avoiding the mirror of accountability. That's not strength. That's spiritual decay disguised as pride. They'll try to erase you publicly, but can't let go privately. They'll talk badly about you to others, yet secretly check your profile at night. The contradiction eats at them. They can't stop thinking about the one who stopped needing them. That's the cruel irony of narcissism. They discard you, then punish themselves with your memory. By now you've probably realized the new supply isn't your replacement. They're the proof of your growth. You were once where they are, believing the lies, fighting for love that was never real. Now you stand on the other side of awakening. Watching from a distance, you see the cycle you escaped repeating again, and you thank God you got out in time. The narcissist's curse is endless repetition. They chase new beginnings that end the same way: loneliness, exhaustion, regret. They think they're escaping you, but they're only running in circles inside their own emptiness. And one day, when no new supply answers their call, they'll realize the truth. They didn't lose you. They lost themselves. You were the lesson, not the loss. Your departure showed them what genuine love looks like when it walks away. They'll spend years trying to find your reflection in others, but it won't appear again, because real love can't exist where lies do. You healed, you grew, you rose. And they're still rehearsing the same script, hoping for a different ending. The reason they left wasn't that you weren't enough. It's that you were too much truth for their illusion. You saw through the performance, and that made you dangerous. Narcissists can't survive in honesty. It starves their ego. So they ran toward the next stage, but every curtain eventually falls. And when it does, they'll realize the spotlight doesn't feel like warmth anymore. Sometimes they'll try to convince themselves they've changed. They might say they're healing, even quoting spiritual language. They don't understand, but their growth ends where accountability begins. They want the reward of redemption without the work of repentance. Real change demands humility, and narcissists would rather fake light than admit to darkness. As you move forward, understand this: your peace is their reckoning. Every time you choose silence over revenge, healing over hate, you remind them of the power they no longer have. You became what they feared most, someone they can't manipulate, can't control, and can't forget. That's the kind of closure they'll never recover from. Their new supply will soon start seeing the signs: the control, the guilt trips, the silent treatment. And just like you, they'll begin to fade under the pressure of false love. But unlike you, they have your story as a warning. Maybe, through that awareness, the cycle will finally break. Maybe your pain wasn't wasted. Maybe it became someone else's rescue. The narcissist didn't leave you for better love. They left you for easier control. But control is temporary. Love rooted in deceit always withers. You were the garden they scorched, but your soil was fertile enough to regrow. Theirs is barren. No matter how many seeds of lies they plant, nothing real will ever bloom again. There will come a day when they try to reach back, nostalgic and desperate. They'll say they miss your energy, your understanding, your calm. Don't mistake that for love. It's hunger. They're starving for validation. And the kindest thing you can do is not feed them. Let silence teach them the lesson their pride refused to learn. In the end, the new supply will leave too. The narcissist will repeat the pattern, convincing themselves they're cursed in love. But curses aren't accidents, they're consequences. Every lie, every manipulation, every betrayal circles back. What they call bad luck is really divine justice. Life giving back what they've given others. When you look back now, you'll see the truth clearly. You were never replaced, only released. The pain that once felt like punishment became your transformation. You didn't lose a soulmate, you lost a parasite, and in their attempt to escape accountability, they trapped themselves in a cycle that will outlast every fake smile they post. So remember this, the narcissist didn't actually want the new supply, they wanted escape. But you can't run from emptiness. It follows like a shadow, waiting in every mirror, whispering every night. You, however, found freedom. You broke the spell, and while they keep chasing new victims to avoid themselves, you've already found the one thing they never will: peace.